The first time I saw her was in my dreams, naked, in my fiancé's arms. It sounds insane, I know, but when I jolted awake that night, gasping and sweating, I knew something had shifted. Not in a metaphorical sense. I mean the kind of shift that makes the air feel heavier, like the universe itself is warning you. His name is Drew. We've been together for 4 years, engaged for 6 months. The proposal was perfect: sunset, the beach, a drone filming us from above. Of course, it went viral, because everything about us was perfect online. Except lately, offline felt strange. He'd been checking his phone more, leaving the room to take work calls even during dinner. He'd forget small things like the name of my niece. He was never like that. He's a tech marketer, obsessed with optimization. And suddenly, it was like his brain cache got wiped. I chalked it up to wedding stress, until I found the invite. It was wedged in the back seat of his car, half crumpled under an empty protein bar wrapper. A soft blush envelope with gold-foiled lettering. You're invited to celebrate the union of Mallory Jean Haynes and Trevor Quinn. I blinked. I didn't know a Mallory, and Drew never mentioned a Trevor. The RSVP box was already checked. Accepts with pleasure, and signed Drew Langston. That night, I casually brought it up. We were watching reruns of The Office and eating takeout. "Hey babe, who's Mallory Haynes?" He didn't even flinch, just kept chewing and shrugged. "No idea. Why?" I held up the invite like a damn smoking gun. His reaction was Oscar-worthy. Blink, lean in, confused frown. "Oh, that must be a client's wedding. Probably from the agency account. We get those sometimes." "You RSVP'd." He took the card, flipped it over, squinted. "Huh, yeah, I don't remember doing that." A lie, but he played it smooth. The next morning, the invite was gone from the counter, tossed like it never existed. That's when I started digging. I'm not proud of it, but I went through his iPad when he left for a client breakfast. It was synced to his Instagram, so I checked DMs. Nothing suspicious. Until I scrolled his close friends' story archive. 1 week ago, there was a boomerang of him clinking glasses with someone cropped out. The background, a rooftop bar in Midtown. The date, the same night he told me he was stuck in traffic for 2 hours. But the real punch in the gut was the caption, "Can't wait for forever with you." I was not tagged. I sat there staring at the screen like a glitching robot. Then came the dream, again. Same woman, same lips, same smirk. This time I remembered something else, the name on her necklace. Mallory. I didn't sleep after that. 2 days later, we attended our friend Olivia's engagement party. The theme was garden chic. Everyone was dressed in linen and pastels. Drew was charming as ever, shaking hands, kissing my cheek, whispering sweet things in my ear like everything was fine. But my stomach was in knots. Then it happened. He was taking photos with Olivia's brother near the bar, when his phone buzzed. It buzzed again, then a third time. He pulled it out, tapped, froze. I watched his face shift, pale, jaw tight, then the panic. He lunged for his pocket, but too late. His phone had gone live, on Instagram. I saw it pop up on my screen. Drew Langston is now live. Confused, I tapped it. So did others. What we saw was not the party, not the bar, not his shoes or a funny angle. It was a video clip already playing, mirrored from a connected tab. A dark room, a bed, and Mallory half-covered whispering. "Do you think she suspects?" Then his voice, soft, smug, off-camera. "She's clueless." The phone was still broadcasting. The crowd gasped. Someone dropped a glass. Olivia's mom yelled, "Oh my God." I looked at Drew. He wasn't looking at me. He was trying to shut down the stream, jabbing at his screen like it was on fire. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't even breathe. I turned and walked into the house. My fingers were trembling. I didn't know where I was going, just that I needed to get away from eyes, from whispers, from that video still playing in my mind. And that's when my own phone buzzed. A notification from a shared wedding planning app. "Congratulations, Drew and Mallory. Your custom welcome sign is ready to print." Wait, what? I tapped it open. And there it was. "Welcome to the wedding of Drew and Mallory." And the date. 1 week from now. I stared at it in disbelief, bile rising in my throat. But what shattered me completely was the venue listed below. The Haynes family estate, Charleston, SC. I'd never been to Charleston, but I recognized that garden. It was the exact one from my dream. I didn't even remember getting in the Uber. I was just suddenly there, sitting stiffly in the back seat, still in my pale blue sundress, mascara streaked down one cheek, and the driver politely pretending not to notice the full-body tremble I couldn't stop. I stared at my phone, at the notification still on screen. Welcome to the wedding of Drew and Mallory. Was I awake? Was this some twisted, multi-layered dream? I opened the wedding planning app. I didn't even know Drew used this one. It was the same app we had started using together until we agreed we'd just go with a planner instead. But this was a whole different profile. I clicked into the guest list. A full roster, her bridesmaids, his groomsmen, the DJ, the florist, the seating chart. My stomach dropped when I saw his mother listed under family of the groom. So she knew. She knew and hadn't said a damn thing. And me. I wasn't anywhere. Not even a fucking footnote. I screenshotted everything, every last detail. But I didn't know what to do with it. Instead of going home, I found myself knocking on Olivia's door. I couldn't face my apartment, not with his toothbrush still in the holder, not with the smell of his cologne still on the sheets. She opened the door, eyes wide. "Holy shit, are you okay?" she gasped. "Everyone's talking about." "I know," I said, pushing past her. "I need your Wi-Fi and tequila." We sat on her couch and I laid it all out. The invite, the wedding app, the Instagram live, the name on the necklace in my dreams, every breadcrumb. She was speechless for once in her life. Then she grabbed my phone, started filming me in selfie mode. "What the hell are you doing?" I blinked. "Documenting," she said, deadpan. "Because one day you're going to go full viral revenge goddess, and I want to say I filmed the origin story." I snorted, half laughed, half cried. She paused. "You want to go to Charleston?" I blinked. "What?" "I mean, this wedding is in, 6 days? Let's fucking go, crash it, burn it down, whatever you need. You deserve answers." For a second it was tempting, insanely tempting. But something held me back. I wasn't ready to confront him yet. I needed proof, not just feelings, not just dreams or vibes or some blurry live stream. I needed the kind of evidence no one could spin. Which is why, the next day, I messaged Mallory Haynes on Instagram. From a burner account, one I'd created for stalking bridesmaid dress ideas a year ago. Username, @blushinbastard. I kept it simple. "Hey, just wondering, does your fiancé know he's already engaged to someone else?" No reply, but she saw it. 2 hours later, I got a DM from Drew himself, not on Instagram, text. "We need to talk, ASAP." And then, right after, "Please don't ruin this." I stared at those 4 words. Not, "It's not what you think." Not, "Let me explain." Just, "Don't ruin this." What exactly was this? His fake life? His second engagement? His carefully curated little double feature where I was the matinee and Mallory was the main event? I didn't respond. Instead, I scrolled through my Google Photos, trying to find the dream image I kept waking up with. The garden, the staircase, the draped floral arch. And then it hit me. A photo from 2 months ago. Drew and I had taken a long weekend trip to visit his uncle. A rustic estate, Spanish moss, quiet. That wasn't his uncle. It was the Haynes estate. He'd taken me there, lied to my face. He'd brought both his lives to the same fucking place. The air punched out of me. But it wasn't over. That night I had another dream. Mallory again, but she wasn't whispering in bed this time. She was screaming. She was at a vanity, wedding dress half on, mascara running, smashing a phone against the wall, sobbing. And in the mirror, behind her, I saw me. Not a reflection, just me, watching, frozen. And in my hand, a phone. Open to the wedding planning app, recording. I woke up gasping. There was a new notification on my phone. From AirDropped. The sender. Drew Langston's iPad. I hadn't even known he used AirDropped. The file. IMG 7621, mauve. I hit accept, hesitated, and then played it. It was a video, vertical, grainy, shot from a corner angle. Mallory again. Sitting on a couch in a silk robe. But she wasn't alone. She was kissing someone. Someone who was Drew. I rewatched the video 3 times before I even realized I was crying. The man kissing Mallory was Drew. He was older, clean-shaven, dressed in a crisp white button-down. The way he held her face, it wasn't casual, it wasn't new, it was intimate, like this was just another Sunday morning for them. I zoomed in, just to be sure. And then I saw it, on the side table behind her. A champagne flute with a tiny M+D charm looped around the stem. I recognized it immediately. I made those charms. A full set of custom wine glass tags I ordered for our engagement dinner. They were supposed to spell "Forever Starts Now" across 12 glasses. I never even got to use them. Drew said the shipment got lost. Apparently not. Apparently Mallory got them. Along with my man, my venue, and my future. Except maybe not the man after all. I scrubbed through the video again, nodding every frame. Timestamp, audio, shadows. It had been filmed recently. The champagne bottle in the background was from a new release only a few weeks ago. The phone Mallory was scrolling. The lock screen showed a date that was just 5 days old. And then a voice, off-screen male. "You're sure he doesn't suspect?" Her voice, soft and tired. "He's too busy managing both of us to notice." I paused the video. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped the phone. Both of us. This wasn't just a story of me being betrayed by Drew. This was Mallory, too. We were both being played, and somehow she knew, at least partially. Enough to not trust him, but not enough to leave. The urge to call her, to reach out as a human being, not a rival, burned through me. But I hesitated. And that hesitation paid off. Because 20 minutes later, another airdrop came through. Drew calendar sync, PDF. He must have had device sync on. His iPad was still paired with my network from our last trip. The ghost of his tech habits was betraying him more efficiently than I ever could. The PDF. It was a color-coded digital calendar. Every day broken into blocks. Green was M, Mallory. Blue was L, me. Red was travel. And the pink ones. Reset. Reset. Reset what? My brain spun. I opened to the current week. I was in blue, obviously. We had dinner plans on Wednesday, a weekend hike, but the day after. Red. Travel. But there was an asterisk. Charleston right arrow, reset right arrow M. I didn't even need to guess anymore. I knew what reset meant. It was when he'd clear his tracks, change passwords, delete photos, cycle through lies, refresh his excuses. That's why he always came back from trips, more attentive, more affectionate. It was his way of reinstalling the version of himself he needed me to see. I felt nauseous. I called Olivia. "You're not gonna believe this," I said, the second she picked up. "Oh, I absolutely will," she deadpanned. "I've already packed snacks and revenge outfits. Spill it." I forwarded her everything. The video, the calendar, the wine charm screen grab. Silence on the other end. Then, "Okay, babe, we're going to Charleston." I hesitated. "No, not yet," I whispered. "I need more." "What more do you need? You've got the smoking gun." "I don't want to just catch him," I said. "I want to trap him. I want him to walk himself straight into exposure." Olivia's tone darkened. "Tell me what you're thinking." "I think we RSVP. To the wedding." "No," I said slowly, "to the bridal brunch." I had noticed it in the app. Open RSVP. Mallory's side had some late cancellations. And get this, the brunch was happening at the same estate where Drew had taken me that weekend. The Haynes Garden Pavilion. 9 a.m. Friday. 2 days before the wedding. Public enough to be polite, private enough to be devastating. I opened the RSVP link. Chose +1. Typed in 2 names. Lauren Blake, Olivia Price. No one double-checked. No one called. Because no one ever thinks the side girlfriend will show up to a monogrammed mimosa bar. 2 days later, we flew to Charleston. We stayed in a budget hotel 5 minutes from the venue, slept 3 hours. And at exactly 8:55 a.m., I walked into the pavilion in the exact same dress Mallory wore in my dream. Pale peach floral sleeves, low back. I didn't own that dress, but I found it through her tagged photos, through a bridesmaid boutique she followed, through a sample sale listing on Facebook Marketplace in my size. It cost me $43 and my last remaining shred of emotional stability. But when I stepped into that courtyard, sunlight pouring through Spanish moss, and locked eyes with her, she froze. Mallory in real life. Everything in me screamed to run. But I didn't. I smiled, slow and cold. "Hi, Mallory," I said. "Mind if I join you?" Her mimosa glass slipped an inch in her hand. And then, out of nowhere, her voice cracked. "You're her," she whispered. The others at the table turned. "She told me in the dream," Mallory said, eyes locked on mine. "She said you'd come." And then she stood up, tears already forming. "You need to see something, right now, before he gets here." Mallory didn't wait for me to follow. She turned on her heel and marched across the cobbled path, her heels clicking like a countdown. I caught a glimpse of her mother's horrified face as I trailed behind, two women in cocktail dresses cutting across a manicured garden like a scene from a dream. A very specific dream. Because this was the dream. The archway, the ivy, the sun slicing across her shoulder like a spotlight. She opened a side door into a storage room and slammed it behind us. "You're Lauren Blake," she said, out of breath. "I know because I saw your name on a vet bill. I didn't recognize it at first. He said it was his sister's dog." Her voice cracked into a bitter laugh, except he never had a sister. I stayed silent. Mallory dug through her clutch and pulled out a cracked iPhone with a shattered corner. She opened her Photos app and began swiping with violent precision. "Last month," she said, "I had food poisoning. I was puking for hours. He tucked me in, said he was going to Walgreens. 30 minutes later, he AirDropped this to himself." She turned the phone to face me. It was a photo. Of me. Asleep in bed, shirtless under a white duvet I recognized from my apartment. The timestamp matched one of his work trips. He had taken the photo without my knowledge and sent it to his burner. To remember me, to catalog me, to prove I existed. Or worse, to compare. Mallory exhaled, her hands trembling. "I confronted him 2 weeks ago," she said, "about the inconsistencies, the calendar gaps. And then I had the dream, a woman in a peach dress standing in the sun. She looked right at me and said, 'He will choose the lie until you end it for him.'" I blinked. That was the exact dream I had. Mallory looked up. Her mascara had smudged under one eye. "That's why I uploaded the video to AirDrop," she said quietly. "I wanted someone to catch it. I just didn't know who." My pulse thundered in my ears. "You were trying to find me." She nodded. "I didn't know your face, but I knew if I dropped it enough, someone would eventually." A knock interrupted us. We both stiffened. A male voice, "Hey Mal, everything okay?" "Drew." Mallory gritted her teeth and whispered, "We'll tell them we're touching up makeup, but we only have a few minutes before he gets suspicious." I didn't ask what she meant by we. I already knew. Because suddenly, I wasn't just the girl being cheated on. I was the co-conspirator. Back at the brunch, we played it cool, clinked glasses, took photos, smiled for Mallory's nosy cousin. Drew arrived late, already buzzed from something in his thermos. He didn't recognize me at first. My hair was darker, my makeup was heavier, and I wore sunglasses for the first 15 minutes. But when I took them off, the blood drained from his face. He froze mid-toast, hand half lifted with a mimosa. Mallory swooped in with an arm around my shoulder, and a smile as wide as betrayal. "Drew, honey," she chirped. "This is Lauren, the one who rescued that stray dog in Asheville, remember?" I watched a war erupt behind his eyes. Lie or confess, pivot or deny. He chose to blink, just once, a silent Morse code for play along. But I didn't. I leaned in and kissed him on the cheek. "Great to finally meet you," I whispered, just loud enough for Mallory to hear. The brunch ended in a swirl of pink peonies and fake smiles. Mallory texted me that night. We're burning it down tomorrow. The next morning, we executed phase 2. I showed up at the rehearsal dinner early with Olivia. She posed as my +1 again, which gave us freedom to roam the reception venue while looking for the bathroom. Inside the groom's suite, I planted his burner phone, which Mallory had stolen the night before, on top of a carefully curated envelope. The contents: screen grabs from his calendar, the photo he took of me in bed, the RSVP logs proving he was on 2 guest lists, Mallory's and mine, for 2 different engagement parties. And finally, a sticky note on top. If you lie again, this goes to everyone. When we exited the suite, Olivia deadbolted the door and texted Mallory. Package delivered, proceed. The rehearsal began with standard speeches and a few strained smiles. Mallory stood under a floral arch beside her bridesmaids. Her hair was in a low bun, her hands were steady. She glanced at me once, nodded, and then she pulled out the misplaced wedding invite. My invite. The one Drew swore never existed, the one I was imagining. She held it up in front of everyone and said, I found this yesterday, in his coat pocket. I thought it was trash at first, but it's not. It's addressed to someone named Lauren Blake, same date, same venue, different bride. Gasps rippled across the courtyard. Drew went sheet white. And then she stepped forward, pointed to me in the crowd, and said, She didn't crash this event. I invited her, because I needed her to see this. She turned to Drew. And so did you. He opened his mouth. But nothing came out. Because in that moment, his mother stood up and whispered, just loud enough for everyone to hear. You told me she was your cousin. Mallory's voice broke. I'm calling off the wedding. And then she handed me something. A white envelope, sealed and heavy. I found it in his suitcase last night, she said. It has both our names on it. You should open it. I stared down at the handwriting. Not his. It was hers. His ex. The one he said was unwell. The one who supposedly lived overseas. The one he claimed blocked him years ago. I looked up. Mallory's lips were trembling. I think she knew the whole time, she whispered, and I think she left us something we're not ready to read. The envelope was addressed in looping, floral handwriting. To Lauren and Mallory, you deserve the truth. I didn't open it right away. Not because I was afraid, though I was, but because Drew was standing just 20 feet away, still frozen, his groom's suit looking like a borrowed lie. I tucked the envelope into my clutch and walked out of the courtyard. Mallory followed. We sat side by side in her Prius, doors closed, AC humming softly. Then we opened it together. Inside was a single sheet of thick cream stationery and a Polaroid. First, the photo. A baby, blue onesie, Mallory's dimples, my eyes, and Drew holding the infant like a proud father, smiling into the lens. But we'd never had a child. And Mallory hadn't either. At least not that she knew of. Then the letter. You both think you were the only ones. You were. He's been running parallel lives since we were 19. He doesn't believe in fidelity. He believes in control. I left him when I found out I was pregnant. He begged me to keep quiet, to vanish. So I did, until I found your names. Mallory, he used your medical ID to file for insurance as his spouse, before he ever proposed. Lauren, he listed you as next of kin on a lease for a hidden apartment in Denver. The landlord mailed something to my old address. That's how I found out. This baby, she's yours too. He used photos of both your faces to apply for benefits and fake paternity documents, to keep himself covered, to keep playing God. He doesn't want a wife, he wants an alibi. We both sat in stunned silence. Mallory blinked. That baby. I scrolled back in my memory, Denver, the conference, the missed periods, the nausea I blamed on nerves, and the blood tests that came back inconclusive. I never followed up. I didn't think I had to. She turned the photo over. In blue pen it said, Not his, not mine, hers. A beat passed before I realized what it meant. He'd taken a child he didn't want and assigned her to someone else. He'd used Mallory's insurance, my name, and his ex's womb, to create a human shield for his lies. My stomach lurched. Mallory covered her mouth. That's why he panicked about the airdrop. He wasn't afraid of the cheating. He was afraid we'd find her. A sharp knock startled us. I flinched, thinking it was Drew. But it was Olivia. She held up her phone, face pale. You guys need to see this, now. Someone had started a thread. On Reddit. Title, Wedding Drama, Groom Has 3 Fiancés. Within an hour, it was trending. Because the story wasn't just ours anymore. An anonymous user had uploaded screen grabs from our burner phone drop, including the calendar screenshots, the photo of me in bed, and a video of Drew whispering, "Don't tell her about Asheville." But the worst. The live stream. One of Mallory's cousins had gone live during the rehearsal dinner and unknowingly recorded everything. The invite reveal. The confrontation. The mother's confession. The baby photo. It was all public. And going viral. By sunset, Drew was gone. No one saw him leave. His car was found abandoned behind a Denny's 6 blocks away. But he hadn't vanished. He was simply spiraling. Because his phone still tracked to our AirDrop. And that device showed up on Find My iPhone. Location, his ex's old duplex. Mallory looked at me. I didn't have to say it. We drove. The duplex was a gray, sagging building with a rusted fence and broken porch light. Mallory knocked. No answer. Olivia stayed in the car, recording just in case. I tried the doorknob. It turned. The living room was dim. A candle burned on the table, and on the couch, wrapped in a pink fleece blanket, was the woman from the envelope. The real mother. And beside her, playing with a plastic giraffe, was the little girl from the photo. She looked up, paused, then said, "Hi, are you Aunt Mallory?" Mallory sank to her knees, tears in her eyes. "Yes, baby, yes, I am." I looked at the woman. She nodded. "He's not here, he never comes here anymore. But I left the photo in his bag, knowing eventually one of you would find it." I whispered, "Why now?" She shrugged, because she turns 5 next week, and he was planning to use her again. Mallory shook her head. Use her how? She handed us a sealed envelope. Inside, a trust document. It named Drew as legal guardian. In case of her unfit maternal status. Effective July 30. Next week. Mallory's wedding date. He hadn't planned to marry her. He'd planned to get custody of this child, using the date as cover. Using our names to triangulate legal authority. And if she resisted, there was an attached draft of a restraining order, filed in Mallory's name. Against me. Pre-signed. Never submitted. A forged war ready to detonate. My knees buckled. She'd been dreaming of betrayal. I'd been gaslit into silence. But he'd already scripted our destruction. And we'd almost followed it like lines on a stage. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voicemail. I played it on speaker. It was Drew's voice, slurred, sloppy. "I told you not to fuck with the dream, Lauren. You weren't supposed to see her face. You weren't supposed to wake up. But you did. And now I'm awake too. You think you're safe with her? She's worse than me. She always was." Then a laugh. A low, hollow rotting sound. And finally, "Happy anniversary." Mallory covered her mouth. Olivia whispered, "What the fuck did he mean by worse than me?" I looked at the child. At the woman. At the trust papers. And I realized. We found the secret. But not the source. Not yet. The room felt suddenly smaller. The air heavier. Mallory clutched the little girl's hand as if she could shield her with pure will. I couldn't stop staring at the envelope on the table, the trust document that named Drew as guardian that was supposed to activate next week, on her wedding day. The ex, her name was Renata, watched us both carefully, warily, as if she'd been through this scene before in a slightly different script. "He said you were unstable," she said quietly, eyes flicking to Mallory. "That you had violent outbursts, blackouts. He was going to use your medical history as evidence." Mallory's voice cracked. "I've never even been on anxiety meds." "He forged your prescriptions. I saw the bottles. had your name printed on the label, said you left them at his place. I felt my stomach twist into something sharp. Renata turned to me. He said you were obsessed, that you'd shown up at our place once, that he had to get a restraining order. That's what, I almost laughed. I've never been here before today. I know that now, she whispered. But back then, I believed him. I didn't know I was pregnant until he'd already disappeared. I spent 2 years thinking I imagined the whole thing. Mallory was shaking. I pulled out my phone. That voicemail Drew left, his voice slurred, strange, almost manic. She's worse than me, he'd said. She always was. What the hell did he mean by that? I asked. Renata's jaw clenched. He wasn't talking about me. Mallory and I froze. She pointed at her daughter. He meant her. My skin went cold. What are you saying? Renata exhaled, slow and bitter. He thinks she's cursed, that she's a punishment. He always said she wasn't like other kids, that she had visions, that she told him things in her sleep. Mallory crouched down in front of the little girl. Sweetheart, can I ask you something? The child nodded solemnly. What did you draw in that picture, the one with the 3 people? She looked down, then whispered, I drew what I saw. Saw where, baby? In my dream. My voice was suddenly paper-thin. What did you see in the dream? The girl looked at me, dead in the eye, and said, a man lying and 2 women crying and a fire. Mallory glanced at me, panic in her face. That was the drawing I'd found in Drew's office. 3 figures, 1 man sitting calmly, 2 women with tears falling like rivers, and what looked like flames behind them. At the time, I thought it was nonsense. Now I realized it was prophecy. We left the duplex just before sunset. Renata gave us the child's birth certificate, Drew's fake insurance claims, and her own written testimony, all neatly stored in a battered accordion folder she said she'd been keeping for Judgment Day. As we drove back, Olivia called. Turn on Instagram, now. Mallory put her phone on speaker. The live video had been saved to Reels. Caption, Groomzilla meltdown at rehearsal dinner. It had millions of views. But more importantly, it had hundreds of comments. Many from women we didn't know. Many with stories that matched ours. One woman claimed Drew used her for housing assistance by pretending they were engaged. Another had screenshots of him using an identical birthday story he told both of us. A third posted a picture of a matching ring, same model as Mallory's, same diamond cut. She thought she was the only fiancé, too. There were at least 6 of us. All duped, all documented. But the worst. A pinned comment. Check out his alt at Orion Real Truth. Creepy shit there. We clicked the username. It was private, but the profile photo was unmistakable. Drew. And the bio. Light is a lie, shadow holds truth, see you in the dream. Mallory and I exchanged a look. I sent a follow request. It was accepted instantly. The account was like something out of a nightmare. Dozens of grainy, black and white clips, some of me, some of Mallory, some of women I didn't recognize, all taken without consent. All in low light, usually through windows, sometimes from inside cars. There was footage of Mallory brushing her teeth. Of me asleep in my old apartment. One clip showed Olivia walking into her own home. Another, a slow pan across a baby's crib. And then, a video titled, The Fire. I clicked it. The footage showed a drawing. The drawing, zoomed in, scanned, and digitally manipulated. As if he were studying it. Searching for something. Overlay text appeared. She warned me they didn't listen, now we burn. My hands were shaking. The timestamp. It had been uploaded 4 days ago. Before the rehearsal dinner. Before the voicemail. Before the confrontation. He'd planned all of this. And he still wasn't done. That night, I barely slept. Images flickered in my mind. Burnt paper, open envelopes, that little girl's eyes staring like she already knew what would happen next. I kept hearing his voice. She's worse than me. And then, a sound. Glass breaking. I shot up. A smell. Smoke. Mallory was already in the hallway, phone to her ear, screaming something about fire. We raced downstairs. A trash can in the corner was in flames. Someone had tossed a Molotov cocktail through the window, using her own wedding invitation as the fuse. We stamped it out with towels and baking soda before the fire caught. But on the back of the card, scrawled in red marker, "You chose the dream." Mallory turned to me, wild-eyed. He's not trying to disappear, he's trying to finish the script. He's trying to make the drawing come true. And in that moment, I knew. The final twist wasn't going to be a message, or a lie, or a woman. It was going to be him. Live. Streaming. Unfiltered. A public ending to his story. And we were all going to watch it burn. The next morning, everything was ash-scented and wrong. Mallory and I hadn't slept. The fire department said we were lucky it didn't catch the curtains. The cops shrugged it off as maybe a random vandal until I showed them the wedding invite with the message. They bagged it. But their eyes said, domestic drama. Not danger. They didn't understand what we did. Drew wasn't just lying. He was crafting a finale, and all his breadcrumbs, the burner phones, the invitations, the dreams, had led straight to this. To the fire. To the live. We checked his alt again, at Orion Real Truth. There was a countdown now. Tonight 8:00 p.m., one last truth. And underneath. Tag your twins, this is for them. I didn't know whether to scream or throw up. Mallory posted everything. The Instagram clips, the DNA lies, the voicemail. She tagged every woman from the burner contacts. Olivia signal boosted it. It went viral in 5 hours. Groom from Hell was trending. But no one could find Drew. Until the airdrop. It happened at 7:42 p.m. We were gathered at Mallory's house, barricaded and on edge, me, Mallory, Olivia, Renata, and 2 more women who'd driven cross-state to be there. Each one had a copy of Drew's lies, matching rings, fake lease agreements, phony legal paperwork. And then Mallory's phone pinged. Drew wants to share one image. We all froze. She accepted it. The picture was high-res, taken through a crack in a door. We saw ourselves, right now, sitting in the living room, one of us pointing at a phone. It had been taken minutes ago. The caption below read, "Smile, you're the audience now." A second ping. A link. Instagram Live, already started. The screen went black at first, just breathing. Then his face. Drew. Smiling. Wearing a tux, but one side of it was torn and charred. He was standing in an abandoned theater, the kind with velvet curtains and dust in every frame. "Hey, beautiful girls," he said. "Miss me?" Mallory clenched her jaw. I thought about ending this quietly, but none of you listened to the signs. You weren't supposed to wake up until after. He turned, walked up the aisle, still holding the phone. You called me a liar, but I warned you, every single one. He reached the stage. Behind him, a massive print of the dream drawing was taped to the curtain. 3 figures, flames. 2 women weeping. A man in the center. Smiling. Then he did something that made my blood ice over. He pulled a red cord. A projector flickered on behind him. It started playing clips. Video of Mallory confronting him at the restaurant. A snippet of Olivia reading the burner texts. Footage of me slamming the DNA result on his car windshield. He'd edited it like a documentary, but with a horror movie score. Call it obsession, call it performance, he said. I call it prophecy. Then he walked off screen and set the place on fire. We screamed, called 911, gave them the timestamp, location from geotags he'd left in the source code of the clip, everything. They found him. Alive. Barely. He'd chained the doors behind him but left a side exit cracked just wide enough for smoke to escape. One firefighter slipped through, pulled him out unconscious. They say he planned to survive. Planned to wake up and watch the views rise. The video stayed up for 4 minutes before Instagram pulled it. 4 minutes. 2.7 million views. That's how many people saw my face. Mallory's tears. Renata's daughter's drawing, superimposed behind the flames. A month later, Drew was in psychiatric custody, pending charges. He was declared a high risk, but mentally competent. Mallory filed a civil suit. Renata pressed criminal charges for stalking and child endangerment. The other women joined a class action case for fraud and emotional abuse. And me. I disappeared from social media. For a while. Until last week, when I posted a single picture. The original dream drawing next to a photo of Renata's daughter, smiling, crayons in hand. Caption: "She saw it before any of us did." And then something strange happened. The comments weren't just sympathy. They were full of stories. Women who'd had dreams they couldn't explain. Kids drawing scenes before they happened. Mothers warning their daughters about men with fire behind their eyes. I don't know what Drew tapped into, whether it was real prophecy or twisted projection. But I know this. He left a trail of chaos. And in the wreckage, we found each other. We weren't just victims. We were each other's proof. That he wasn't a genius. Or a psychic. Or a prophet. He was just a conman with a burner phone. And the last fire he lit, it didn't destroy us. It illuminated everything. Has a dream ever told you the truth before anyone else?